Yo guys, today we're doing a Diremal East Jump Run Warlock solo guide. The final time ended up being 17:30 after I killed the last boss and the imps, but it did take an extra minute-ish to finish the mining, so you could say 18:30 if you wanted. I know most Warlocks like to end their times at after the last boss to seem like they're faster, so I thought I'd give you both. Just a couple of notes. I do run this path differently than most. I find it easier and faster. You just have to be careful of the trees. It might take you a little bit to learn the paths, but once you know them, it's very easy. Something you'll notice right here is I do turn on invis detection. That's because there are stealth guys in this run. And I choose to enslave the first one I see. I know a lot of people just kill them, and some people enslave them, and everybody has a different strat here, but what I found to be the fastest is the current strategy that I've used in this video. So we're going to enslave this guy. And with him, we're going to use him to help us kill Hydra spawn. So that's the first thing we're going to do here. Send him in. And as you can see, I wait a second, I doom, and then I'm going to corruption siphon life. And the reason I'm running over here is because when I go on the ledge to juggle the boss, I don't want him to run behind me, which has happened. It's not a big deal, but because of our strat of not killing this pack, either of these packs first, you really don't want to have to go in front of the ledge because you will aggro those imps, and if you aggro that pack, you're 100% dead, unless you can get to a reset spot, and from here, it's pretty far. We're just going to do the regular strat, we're just going to juggle him, and as you saw, I released a pet, it didn't break. The reason I did that is because, number one, I want his loot, and number two, he will aggro the Hellcaller pack when he goes on the land if he's friendly for you. So you have to release him. You could have released him earlier. You could have, you know, tried to keep him in the water. But and then here you can see the Hydraling spawn. I just corruption them, try to get a Nightfall proc, and I just keep juggling them. You really don't want to get hit by them because they do this little mini knockback, and then it's easier to get geysered. And I got hit right there, but it was just the one, so it wasn't a big deal. And it doesn't really hit hard, it's just annoying. And the boss can hit hard. So we're just going to finish off this boss, obviously avoiding the geysers as much as possible, and juggling him. Now, some people, and you can do this, you can juggle him much farther away, so don't let him get as close in the water. But I'm trying to get more damage on him, as you can see with Immolate and stuff, so you just have to be careful when you do that, because he is more prone to hitting you. I tried to get a shard there because I'm out of shards, but he knocked me, so unfortunate. As you can see here, I'm swimming. I'm not jumping on the ledge. That's because we will aggro that Hellcaller pack I just talked about. I also wanted to avoid the pod on the right. They have a huge aggro range, and sometimes they're a cloud, but sometimes they're lashers. And lashers aren't deadly, but they're just a waste of time for us. I mean, just 4 of them is not a lot of gold, and I mean, it's going to drain our resources. So usually in this hallway, I would enslave the next Shadow Stalker, but as I just said, I'm actually out of shards. I've been farming this for a while. As you can see, my Soulstone's actually off cooldown, but I didn't even make one. Because I don't have any shards. So instead of enslaving this guy, I opt to kill him, but all I do is full dot him, and I fear him. And the reason I do this is because I don't want to waste my time sitting here actually killing him. I just want to get the boss started because we want to get that doom ticking. And this will also allow us to put more dots on that Shadow Stalker before the boss gets back. So because I feared him that way, and I did get lucky with the pathing, it went backward instead of in this direction. Wouldn't have been a big deal either way. But you saw the damage number in the wall over there. So he's actually much closer to being down here than the boss is. Again, there's that pod. We're going to go this way so we don't aggro anything or pop the pod. Swimming sucks, but you know, can't attack anything anyway right now. Now, right here, I decided to use a rune cloth bandage. I've been using a mix of heavy and regular. The reason is you don't need a heavy here, but it's nice to be full health when the stuff comes. The only time I use a heavy is if I mess up or on the last boss. On the last boss, you're going to want to use heavy in certain situations. I'll talk about that when we get there. And something you'll notice is there is a lasher over there, but it doesn't pull to these mobs because they're different types. So don't worry about that. And the lasher's actually annoying to kill anyway, so we're glad we don't have to worry about it. As you can see, that guy just died, or he's about to die. Now we keep dots on the boss. As I should have mentioned, Curse of Doom is really good, but Curse of Agony I think is actually better DPS, especially if you have Amplify Curse. And the sooner you push the boss towards lower percent, the sooner he runs slower. So that's the other reason I like to do it, because, you know, if you're waiting on Doom, and say he's at 5k, he probably would have been at, you know, 2 or 3k, so he would have been running slower for a lot longer. They're not a huge DPS difference. I mean, you do save mana with Doom, because you don't have to reapply it as much, but, I mean, we don't really care about that. I choose to get this dot here because, you know, it doesn't really matter. I want the Soul Shard more than I care about that dot. My health is full. We're not going to kill anything for a long time at this point. Now again, we're swimming because we don't want to aggro anything because we barely killed any trash in here. I haven't tried optimizing this part of because it's just a few seconds and I didn't really care. A few things I don't know if I mentioned. You can use a few consumables and stuff to make this, you know, a little easier. You can use the major or mighty troll's blood. It's like 15 health or 12 health every 5 seconds. It's not a huge thing, but when you're learning and it's so cheap, you know, anything helps. Um, Now, earlier I didn't loot any herbs, and there's a reason for that. It's because this tree. This tree takes an incredibly long time to actually reach the door and open it. So we have plenty of time right now to get all the easy access herbs. I skipped the 2 herbs to the south because I know they're annoying, and you could possibly aggro a pack, and if you aggro a pack, you know, you're either wasting time or dying. So we're in no rush right here. I see there's an herb to the right, and I know that that one's a pretty good spot, so I'm gonna go grab that. And I do get a little nervous for a second because I didn't remember exactly where that padded to, but as we see, we're fine. Now I'm looking, I see the other trees are out of range, can't even see them anymore. I know these trees just ran by me to the right. I know they're about to come back, so I take a peek, and you don't want to rush this. You see the door just opened, but, you know, it's not a big deal that we're a little slow on here. We probably would have been on time if we didn't hesitate. And as you can see, I equipped Skull of Doom. We're about to use that. The reason I saved the speed boost for now is because, again, we're waiting for the tree, so using a speed boost would make no sense for time. Now, I will say if you're learning that room and the paths, sometimes having a speed item is nice because if you mess up, you can use the speed item and it could save you from aggroing. So that's something to think about when you're learning. Now, a few important things about this room are that the trees, those big trees, have a huge aggro range, and if you do aggro one, you can jump on this ledge that I just jumped on, and it'll reset it. It'll reset any trash in here, actually. You really don't want to have to reset trash, but, you know, it's just avoiding wiping is much bigger time save. Now, as you can see, I'm looking over here. I see the tree pat. There is one tree pat in this room, and he pats down here. If you jump down right now, he's going to aggro. So I opt to jump over here and go down this ledge. Now, this is something I have not seen yet, and that I made myself, this strat. So I opt to banish this guy at first. The reason I'm doing this is because I want to pull the other pack at the same time. So we pull these 2 packs because we can juggle these 2 packs just like we juggle the boss. You could technically pull 3, but it's going to be extremely difficult and very dangerous, especially if you have a caster. And there's no point in just killing one when most of your damage is going to be dots and you're going to have to fear them anyway. So I opt for doing this. The reason I banished him at first is because I don't want to get the poison. It's like a 20-second poison that does 100 and something per tick every 3 seconds, and it's not deadly. It's just annoying because I mean it basically offsets your demonic sacrifice. Um, and obviously it's not deadly, but it's a waste of time. So these 3 big flowers in this room are random. They could have been the casters, which have less health but are harder to deal with because they can cast at you. But you can still do it. You just have to be a little bit more careful, and I opt to. Usually, if I'm getting low, I try to let the caster get close to me and I fear him. The only thing he'll aggro in this room is that other pack all the way over there. And I'm not even worried about that. They don't aggro the boss. So it's safe to just fear him. You can bandage if you need to, or you can try to drain life on something. As you can see, I'm not really worried about these fell lasher, the little guys right now. I don't think they're called, whip lashers. Uh, I'm trying to keep corruption on them just to proc nightfalls, so I can kill the big guys faster. And this is a huge time save compared to the regular strat. There's a little bit of a learning curve, and you have to be very careful with the boss right here. That was actually a mistake. You don't want to jump off there. You want to be LOS of the boss at all times, or on this railing, because he can aggro, and I have aggroed him before. But if you keep toggling between the rock and this, you're not going to aggro the boss. I start running over here because I want to get to pull the other pack, and I could have feared him, but I'm not worried. He's low health, so he's going to be slow. So I opt to start pulling this guy. As you can see, he's just crawling to me. I Curse of Doom him because I'm kind of low on mana, and I want to be able to dot the other things, and I don't want to have to reapply Agony just yet. I Death Coil him because, again, I want to avoid the poison. Getting the poison makes the pool much longer because you can't life tap as much because your demonic sacrifice is being used up by the poison. So this is a similar strat. I'm just going to ping pong him. The reason is because you could fear him, but again, if you fear, you're probably getting the same amount of uptime because they tend to run to Africa with fear. They're just super fast. And something you can do though is if you fear on the railing, they'll run along the railing because they can't just jump down. So you could use that to your advantage, and I do sometimes, it just depends. See that Shadow Bolt was bad. I thought he was gonna come up on the ledge faster so he'd be in range, but he just wasn't. Now I start looting because these can despawn and I'm just trying to get it out of the way. And he's feared, I'm just dotting him up. Now on your first few runs, you might not want to pull the boss until you're 100% ready. You got all your stuff, you got your soul stone. As you can see, I have a shard now, but I'm just so confident that I'm not worried about it. I've done it many times. You can die, but even when you've done it a lot, and as you see, I'm not even full health and mana, but I opt to pull the boss because just for speed efficiency. As you can see, I just LOS that debuff. The boss has 2 debuffs. This one, Enervate, which is a mana drain and pretty annoying. The other one, called Wither, is a damage application of around 800 and then a dot for 20 seconds. That one also basically offsets your demonic sacrifice. They're both really annoying to get. And as you can see, I decided to amplify Curse of Agony, the boss first. It's more DPS than Curse of Doom. And I want to get the Amplify Curse rolling because I can possibly use it again later depending on the fight length. And a few things to note, the Wolf can put a bleed on you, and it hits for like 250 a tick for 20 seconds. You really don't want to get hit by that. So I would not risk getting meleeed by the Wolf because he can do it on his first melee hit. It also makes you slower, so it's just incredibly annoying in general. The tree can knock you back, and it's not super bad, especially if you're on the rock and you get knocked onto the ledge. I mean, it's just some damage, but nothing crazy. And I'm choosing to wand him for a bit just because it's pretty hard when you're juggling like this to actually get casts off. because Shadow Bolt is so long in this spec. We don't have the reduced cast time. As you can see, I am basically full health, and I actually have a lot of mana. But something you want to be aware of is you don't always want to life tap on this fight like you normally would think because of Demonic Sacrifice. Because if you do get an Enervate buff, the mana drain, uh, you basically just wasted your health for no reason. So unless you can, it's usually not good to life tap when he's up unless you're very confident you're not going to get the buff. I mean the debuff. Usually want to life tap with the tree or the dog. And something that I've noticed other people talk about is not siphon lifing these imps. I find that to be a mistake. You do, waste some GCDs on the imps, but you actually get more health than you waste mana, so it's a net gain on resources for the boss. So even if you're struggling, I think it's more important to get the siphon lives out, especially when you're learning, because you just get that health regen, which turns into mana, of course, with life tap, and every siphon life you put up is just more and more resources. Now something to note, the imps do not hit particularly hard, but they commonly slow you like that a daze. And if you try to wand when they're all hitting you, it's pretty freaking delayed. I think it's just too many melees. So as you can see, the boss is getting low here, and my Amplify Curse is not even up. So this time I killed the boss very fast. You can see I actually kill him at 1630, but I have to deal with the imps, which there's a lot. It takes a bit of time. And I have this debuff on me that's taking away my health, so I can't tap too effectively right now. So I try to get Siphon Life out. Siphon Life won't actually kill them. It'll get them to 11 health with my gear. Obviously that depends on your gear. I don't have a read. I'm using a life stone because I'm a noob. So, your Siphon Life might kill them depending on your spell power. I'll show my stats in a little bit. And then now I know that I'm not going to die. I mean, I have Siphon Life on everything. I'm just, again, wanding right now is pretty hard. It delays it a lot, so I'm just corruptioning and walking towards the nodes. You can get soul shards on these guys, something to note. I'm not too worried about soul shards. Don't use that many in this run because we're only enslaving 2 people. And then health stone and soul stone if you need. And usually you can get them from the small lashers before this pretty easy, but you can use the imps for that. And then, I mean, here we are just mining. There we get an arcane crystal, pretty lucky. And, so this run, to talk about the gold per hour for a little bit. This run I probably got around 80 gold in the 18.5 minutes it took. That's not a very good indicator, and I've done it for probably 10 to 20 hours, and I'd say the minimum floor if you're doing a 20-minute run would be 45 to 60 gold off of the vendor value from the boss alone. Again, this route is not doing Fellcloth or anything, so that's something to note. But the upside of this versus Maradon is the RNG and the ability to get Arcane Crystals, Essence of Water off Hydra Spawn. I mean, I've had 3 runs in a row where I get an Essence of Water and 2 Arcane Crystals. So it's just heavily RNG dependent on the high end, but you can get upwards of 200 gold in an hour if you're lucky. And I'm just showing my gear briefly, and as you can see, I have 366 spell power. So, and my life stone, don't look. Alright, well, good luck farming, boys and girls.